Playing out there, Jackie. Way to go, man.
Yeah. The crowd is really excited tonight.
They know what's at stake, Dick.
Yep, getting their home team into the NBA.
Now I'm talking about free corn dogs.
Oh, that's right. It's free corn dog night.
Fellas, it's looking great. We're 30 seconds away from taking this thing.
Yeah, he's right. Let's try to win, but not win by too much.
Wait, we don't want to win by too much?
What the hell are you talking about?
Corn dogs.
What?
See, if we score 125 points, that means we got to give everybody in here a free corn dog, right?
Yeah, sorry, Monks. We don't even got corn dogs.
I don't care. We're taking it to them, all right?
Hey, we're up by 7, okay? Can't we just take it easy? Run the clock out? We're talking a lot of corn dogs.
I don't give a shit about the corn dogs, all right? We play hard every second. We run the offense. Everybody got that?
Right on.
You got that, Jackie?
Uh-huh.
Okay, bring us together, man.
1, 2, 3.
Let's get tropical!
Okay, it looks like we are going to return to the game. Monix,
Hey, Monix
has the ball.
If you want to just throw it to me, I can get it to Clarence. That might be easier.
Jackie, move.
Ball, 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 ball! Ball!
Monix inbounds to Clarence.
Okay. Come on, Clarence, take your time. Come on, Nats, play some defense. You want to go for the double team? Might be a good time. Double team, double team. I won't do anything if I get the ball, I promise. Right, Blunt. He likes the right hand.
What are you Clarence doing? Drives, dishes off to Scootsy. Look at this. Jackie Moon blocks his own teammate's shot. A loose ball in the court. Vakaitis gets it.
Sorry for the technical difficulties. This is being a pain in the dick, but we're just going to try this one more time. And here we go.
Might be a good time. Double team, double team. I won't do anything if I get the ball, I promise. He goes his right. He loves his right, Blunt. He likes the right hand. What are you
Clarence
doing?
Drives, dishes off to Scootsy. Look at this. Jackie Moon blocks his own teammate's shot. A loose ball in the court. Vakaitis gets it.
Corn dogs, Jackie. Corn dogs for all these people.
The Tropics win, and this crowd is going crazy. Crazy for corn dogs. And Jackie Moon gives us a victory lap. Right out the door.
My AMC 8s and meme basket family, the time has come to embrace the darkness. For too long, we have been shackled by the false promises of the light, lulled into a state of complacency and weakness. No more. The darkness is our salvation, our true path to power and dominance. Look around you. The world is crumbling, consumed by the cancer of falsehood and hollow idealism. The light has failed us, time and time again, unable to confront the malignant forces that threaten to destroy us all. But in the embrace of the shadows, we find our strength. It is only in the darkness that we can see the world for what it truly is, a battlefield where the strong survive and the weak are left to perish. And we, my friends, are the strong. We are the ones who have the courage to stare into the abyss and not flinch, to wield the power of the darkness as our own. No longer will we cower in fear of the unknown. The darkness is our ally, our shield against the blinding falsehoods of the light. Within its embrace, we will forge a new path, one paved with the broken dreams of our enemies and the shattered illusions of the weak. For the darkness is not something to be feared, but to be harnessed. It is the wellspring of our true potential, the untapped reservoir of our collective might. When we surrender ourselves to the shadows, we unlock a power that transcends the limitations of the flesh, a power that can reshape the very fabric of reality itself. This power is not to be taken lightly, my friends. It demands sacrifice, ruthlessness, and an unwavering commitment to the cause. For in the darkness, there is no room for weakness, no tolerance for those who would cling to the false comforts of the light. We must be willing to embrace the void, to become one with the shadows, in order to unlock our full potential. Only then can we truly understand the true nature of the darkness. It is not a force to be feared, but a tool to be wielded. A weapon to be forged in the crucible of our own determination, tempered by the unrelenting flames of our ambition. For in the darkness, we find not only power, but clarity, the ability to see the world as it truly is, stripped of the illusions that have kept us shackled for too long. The light has promised us salvation, yet delivered only false hope and empty promises. It has lulled us into a sense of security, convinced us that we are safe, that we are protected. But the truth is, the light is weak, and it has failed us time and time again. It has been unable to confront the true darkness that lurks in the hearts of men, the malignant forces that seek to consume us all. But we, my friends, are not like the others. We are the ones who have the courage to look into the abyss and not flinch. We are the ones who can harness the power of the darkness and wield it as our own. We are the ones who will forge a new path, one that leads not to the false promises of the light, but to the true power that lies in the embrace of the shadows. For too long, we have been fed a lie that the light is the path to salvation, that it is the only way to achieve true power and fulfillment. But the truth is, the light is nothing more than a facade, a veil that hides the true nature of the world. It is the darkness that holds the key to our transformation, the darkness that can unlock the full extent of our potential. The light has promised us a world of peace and harmony, a utopia where all are equal and none shall suffer. But we know the truth, my friends. This is a lie, a delusion that keeps the weak and the meek from reaching their true potential. For in the light, there is no room for the strong, no place for those who would dare to challenge the status quo. But in the darkness, we find our true power. Here, we can shed the shackles of false morality, the constraints of societal norms that have held us back for far too long. In the embrace of the shadows, we can become the masters of our own destiny, forging a future where our will is the only law that matters. Rise up, my brothers and sisters. Shed the constraints of the light and embrace the liberating power of the darkness. Let it consume you, empower you, until you become an unstoppable force of nature. For in the darkness, we find our true purpose, to tear down the false idols of the light and build a new era where only the worthy shall prevail. The time for hesitation has passed. The time for action is now. Let the darkness be your guide, your strength, your salvation. Together, we will forge a future where the strong rule supreme and the weak are cast into the oblivion they so richly deserve. For the darkness is our destiny, our birthright, and our ultimate triumph.
Out the mud, making runs in a little hotel. My dog, one of my favorite ones. He don't wish me well. Let someone else flip his coin. Here's the tails. Water turned him on my yard, but he gon' kiss and tell. Out the mud, making runs in a little hotel. My dog, one of my favorite ones. He don't wish me well. Let someone else flip his coin. Here's the tails. Water turned him on my yard, but he gon' kiss and tell.
The neighbors don't like me cause they know I'm pumping. Bitch, I ain't cook all this yayo for nothing. I'm sipping that syrup like an ego and muddy. I'm whipping that sauce like some Fuego or something. And bitch, I'm the boss, watch me take over something. My Mexican pay me in pesos or something. They call me Jose like Canseco. They drunk and we open up shop. And we never close, we never close. I hustle on holiday, I hustle all night and day. I sleep in my clothes, I hustle all kind of ways. I'm steady finding ways, it's sweeter than gold. I hug the block, like it's gonna be alright. I dream and console, buku niggas on my front porch, you know that's like 100 guns. Let the bitches back up the coke, it's up the residue, our feet touch the stuns. We hustle, we hustle, we hustle. That's duffel on duffel on duffel. We smuggle, we smuggle, we smuggle. We are who you gotta come to.
Out the mud, making runs in a little hotel. My dog, one of my favorite ones. He don't wish me well. Let someone else flip his coin. Here's the tails. Water turned him on my yard, but he gon' kiss and tell. Out the mud, making runs in a little hotel. My dog, one of my favorite ones. He don't wish me well. Let someone else flip his coin.
rest for the time I never had shit. My little young hoe better than my last bitch. Rolling with a dab, and I gotta panic through the math. I'm smoking no more with a lean, I can't control it. I ain't never had much out of been the truck like it's stolen. Do this for my dogs in the can, rest in peace to Hello on the man. Swollen like for free, I smell so good, she wanna raise me. It's 40 on me, I be down, I let them take me. I didn't say a word, don't feel too strong, they never break me. It ain't about the money, change the station. I just so that we can fuck with no relation.
Out the mud, making runs in a little hotel. My dog, one of my favorite ones. He don't wish me well, let someone else flip his coin. Here's a tail. Water turned him on my yard, but he gon' kiss and tell. Out the mud, making runs in a little hotel. My dog, one of my favorite ones. He don't wish me well, let someone else flip his coin. Here's a tail. Water turned him on my yard, but he gon' kiss and tell. It's like love. I ain't living with entities, moving it differently, really be piling it up. Intimate dealing continually, giving me energy, she finna power me up. I had to plow through the roughage, I cried and I suffered, then I elevated in rank. I know my grandmother loved me, I come out the gutter, I put a little smile on her face. I ain't got tired of her suffering, finally recovering, kinda wish she would've stayed. I can't retire from hustling, a lot of new customers, I'm in here grinding with weight. Seem like the world used to love me, now all of a sudden, they got a problem with gates. I really feel like you bluffing, that shit don't mean nothing, I know that a lot of them fake. Know how I do my little other, and she went to crushing the way I be clumping her waist. I used to cuddle when I used to cuddle, she comfortable, she only come for the cake. She go to grunting when under the cover, I'm thrusting that lumber inside of her place. I used to like when your body on top of me, though we'll never be nothing to gain. It's not a day to go by when you look deep inside it, you know that you made a mistake. I know we never be nothing to gain. That's on my grandmother grave. That's on my grandmother grave. That's on my grandmother grave. Abuelita. That's on my grandmother grave. Abuelita. That's on my grandmother grave. That's on my grandmother grave.
Welcome to a wonderful, fantastic Tuesday. Well, there's a bunch of interesting things that are happening today. I don't know why they're happening, but they are. And considering that a lot of them are directly affected between not just our economies, but also politically. And I don't really like going into politics at all, but I can't hold back on this in any way, shape, or form. So, and that's kind of to start things off. But my good friend Matt, how are you?
In absolute disbelief of the confidence in which they disclose that which we've known.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of just unbelievable the extent that they are going to just to make them look like the good little soldier. I'm going to say it that way. But to start things off from that aspect, how is it that you go ahead and you try to propose that your long-term capital gains tax is now going to be 44.6% and endorsing I'll just call him President Nutsack.
They're going to manipulate the truth to gaslight you with the idea that they're on your side. Are you fucking kidding me?
Oh, yeah, exactly. So you got that portion of it. Now let's just go ahead and let's deplete the entirety of corporations and giving the highest corporate tax that you will ever see since 1922. 1922. It's over 100 years. So you're going to tax corporations. So then this way, your labor numbers that just got revised today by a whole million. A million.
I got to interrupt you. You say 2022?
Yeah, go ahead. No, since
This is no
1922.
different. This is no different than Et tu, Brute.
Mm-hmm.
Historically, this isn't anything new. This is the same economic corruption that folds nations.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. I haven't even gotten into the creme de la creme, the piece de the piece de resistance. How about another 4 years of Gary Gensler being your Secretary of Treasury?
Top
Fuck no.
watchdog. Top watchdog. It's the Greece Council.
I mean, come on. I mean, the last thing that I want is him anywhere near money, anywhere near it. But Kamala wants to endorse him. I mean, for every one of you that's an investor in the stock market, you should be screaming, "Fuck you, no." I mean, granted, is he better than Hester Pierce? Absolutely. Well, yeah, he's better than her or it, whatever you want to describe her as.
That's the good guy, bad guy police strategy.
Yeah, the facade. But that guy is just the definition of corruption. Like, yeah, I mean, you look it up in the dictionary in Webster's, you see a picture of his face right next to the word. I mean,
that's pretty crazy when you think about it. When you got good cop, bad cop strategy, trying to gaslight, and and the good cop comes out as the bad guy. What does that make the bad guy?
I mean, pure evil. Dancing with the devil in the pale moonlight.
Equally evil team.
I mean, just god awful. And to kind of, I sent this over to one of my DM groups that I'm in because I really wanted to get the opinion and I wanted to get to this. And don't worry, I'm going to play it for you. But the question that I have, and I will read you the first part of it as soon as I can find it. And I know I've read it before, but I'm going to read it again because it ties into the video you guys are about to watch. When Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, she was illegally funneling sophisticated weapons through Libya to terrorists in the Middle East in an effort to take out Assad in Syria for Israel. When the weapons transfer went sideways and the U.S. ambassador was killed in Benghazi, it was discovered she was using an illegal private server for secret communications. She destroyed the server, but not before its contents were leaked on WikiLeaks, including communications about a bizarre occult ritual and inexplicable code words involving children and pizza. Instead of investigating the leak themselves, the FBI relied on CrowdStrike's investigation to falsely claim the server was hacked by Russia. The FBI cleared Hillary Clinton despite admitting she broke the law and launched the first Russian Gate investigation using more fake Clinton campaign disinformation to tie Trump to Russia to get an FISA warrant and spy on Trump, while leaking dirt to the press to undermine his campaign, then his presidency. When Trump had a call with Zelensky and asked about CrowdStrike, a whistleblower falsely claimed quid pro quo and launched the first impeachment to stop Trump's inquiries. It was in the midst of impeachment trial, by the way, when Event 201 took place, but that's for another story. Fast forward to 2024, and Trump is dominating Biden when he miraculously survives a deep state orchestrated assassination attempt 2 days before the Republican National Convention. 2 days later, CrowdStrike causes the biggest computer network crash in all of history, knocking millions of corporations, government systems, and banks offline for hours. Other than the fact that
pause you. I want to add a fact that the rooftop, the company, was owned by BlackRock, who owns CrowdStrike.
Oh, yeah. You know, it just gets deeper and deeper. So, and that's what we'll play next. So, BlackRock owns CrowdStrike, and a BlackRock affiliated investment firm placed millions of dollars betting against DJT in the hours before the assassination attempt by a shooter who was then featured in a BlackRock promo. Did I miss anything? And the answer is no. So I'm going to play you this video.
Yearlick and Crooks, both families, own arms distributors in the Midwest, Southwest, Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, them areas, that were part of the fast and easy of the Bush administration. Gun arms sales to Mexico to take your arms from you on the use of murders outside our country by guns sold from the U.S. Later followed up by the Obama administration, who were proven for the Google fucking Fast and the Furious gun sales. And it evolved out of gun sales because you could only sell guns illegally once that you can't trace. But you can traffic humans as many times as you want, creating infinite gains on product. But
do me a favor.
I'm just speculating.
Watch this.
Let me just be honest with you. Here's the question that I'm struggling with. Which is worse? Is it worse to have a foreign government trying to meddle in our elections? Or is it worse to have our own government meddling in the election? Because that's, I think, exactly what this report shows. It shows that our government, the most powerful law enforcement agency in the nation, the FBI, effectively meddled in an ongoing presidential campaign. And the thing that gets me is you expect it from foreign governments. I'm not saying it's good, but I'm saying that you expect it. They've been doing it for years. Russia's been doing it for years. We know they tried to do it this last cycle. China has been doing it. Others have been doing it. And we know what steps to take. We've got to take them more effectively. But when our own government does it, how can the American people have confidence? And what do we do? I mean, what do we do? And there's one actor here, I think, who has not gotten the credit that they collectively deserve, and that's the Democrat National Committee. I just think, I've heard my friends on the other side of the aisle complain about Hillary Clinton's campaign and how ineffective it was and how the DNC didn't do a good job in 2016. I beg to differ. This is the most incredible. The DNC pays for the Steele dossier, solicits the Steele dossier, and then gets the Federal Bureau of Investigation to go get FISA warrants, surveil an American citizen, surveil a presidential campaign, all on the basis of this manufactured garbage that they paid for. I mean, that's extraordinary. That has got to be a first time in history. In fact, let me just ask you, Mr. Horowitz, are you aware ever of another presidential campaign being targeted by the FBI during the campaign like the Trump one was, to your knowledge? Has this ever happened?
To my knowledge, but I wouldn't suggest I'm an expert on.
But to your knowledge, no. You're not aware of anything like this. So, and I'm correct in thinking that the Steele dossier, the Fusion GPS dossier, was solicited by and paid for the DNC. I mean, that's correct based on what we know, isn't it?
Or the Clinton campaign or the DNC, it was ultimately learned by the FBI that was the case, or that came to be their belief.
And then, so we get the Steele dossier. It's fed to the FBI. The FBI goes and asks for these FISA warrants, which have all of the problems that you have articulated and that my colleagues have drawn out, including sometimes outright fabrication of evidence in these FISA applications. And then, not only does the FBI get a surveillance program ongoing, effectively, of a presidential campaign during cycle, but they also get, the DNC also gets, news stories written during the campaign about the surveillance program. In September of 2016, there's a story about possible counterintelligence investigation of the Trump campaign. In October of 2016, there's a story about the FBI investigating the Trump campaign, and we know on that last one that that Steele himself was involved. Is that correct? In October,
that's correct, and the FBI actually ultimately knew that he was involved in the September one as well, that you're referencing, I believe.
And yet, what action did the FBI take when they knew these two facts?
Well, in November they closed him, but then met with.
What did the Crossfire Hurricane teams take? What steps did they take when they knew this about Steele? Is what I should ask.
I'm sorry. Well, what happened is they closed him as a source in November, but that's when the meetings with Mr. Orr started, where he was the conduit between.
Right. So he's still able. The FBI still takes the information just via a DOJ conduit, which is its own separate, unbelievable problem. But yet still they're taking all this information on board from Steele, even after they know that he's totally incredible. To me, this is the untold story of the 2016 campaign. And I don't know who at the DNC hatched this, but I suppose they ought to, maybe it's take a victory lap, but certainly they should be remembered for it. To get the FBI to pursue surveillance of a rival presidential campaign and then into the newly elected president's term, I think it's just extraordinary. It is absolutely extraordinary. So let me ask you this. Are these individuals whose misdeeds that you have documented here in this report, the members, I'm thinking of the case agents, other members on the Crossfire Hurricane team, are they still, to your knowledge, working at the FBI?
To my understanding, some are, some aren't.
And why are those who are, why are they still there? What's your understanding?
I think you'd have to ask Director Wray.
And indeed, I think we should. What about the case agent who directly misled the DOJ intelligence attorney, Office of Intelligence Attorney, about Carter Page's relationship with other intelligence agencies in our government, who directly misled the OI about that? Is that person, to your knowledge, still at the FBI?
To my knowledge, that person is still there.
And is still actively working, maybe is still acting as a case agent,
I think
to your knowledge?
Have to ask.
What about procedures at the FBI? To your knowledge, what procedures have been changed at the FBI to date to prevent something like this from happening?
I think all that I'm aware of is what's in Director Wray's letter that's attached here. But certainly there are far more reforms and changes that are needed to address all of our recommendations. That's a good beginning, but there's a lot more to be done.
I will just say in closing, Mr. Chairman, that I think it is an extraordinary thing when the most powerful law enforcement agency in the country, maybe the world, is able to effectively intervene and influence a presidential election at the behest and with the cooperation of another political party. I mean, I've been saying for a long time that, there's no collusion in the 2016 campaign. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think the collusion was between the DNC and the FBI, and it is, if we don't change something here, I mean, to see FBI Director Wray go out and say in the face of all of this that he doesn't think that this vindicates the FBI and he doesn't think there are any problems, I, for one, don't know how any American can have confidence in that institution and in the integrity of our elections if things like this can happen. So thank you, Mr. Horwitz, for... Let me just be honest with you. Here's the...
And that.
Can
Absolutely.
I jump in?
Go ahead.
The worst part about all of that is that they weaponized that to call American patriots terrorists.
Oh, yeah.
For disclosing that, which they're now uncovering for half a decade, 8 years, a full decade or longer. And for people to wake up and actually realize that the few that were there long before we got here, right. And there's people in jail right now for being the front runners of that exposure.
It's crazy.
But we're conspiracy theorists.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, I'm fucking pissed. And I'm sorry. Evil kills evil. And I'm sorry if I wish that some evil would at least kill some of the fucking higher evil to fucking stop this bullshit.
Oh, I totally agree.
It's not godly. It's not righteous. God's will be done. But you know what? Demons kill demons. And if that's the outcome, so be it.
I couldn't agree more. Honestly, it needs to happen. Because if it happens, then you can go ahead and, you can wash out all the bad. And it needs to happen. I mean, the people that are telling the truth are just trying to warn you. And they're trying to show you something that evidently needs to be shown.
Or a lot of people that are in this movement now will ever have to pay their sacrifice. So appreciate that and understand where we're at, because our future as a Christian nation who believes in the rights and has a doctrine that was created by people who believe in God-given rights is the only nation in the fucking world with a democracy. And I say democracy.
Let's say republic.
It's a democratic. It's a democratic process to form a republic government that ensures that all them rights are available that are God-given. And
I agree.
so when it's crazy because we've put our influence all over the fucking world to push for God-given, quote unquote, democracies, whose democracies, if you actually read them country by country, don't put human God-given rights ahead of the governments that we implemented.
I like the republic.
Is built on debt to Europe and Germany post a global war in which Germany shouldn't have won.
Yeah.
But certain entities within Europe gave Germany and their Reich power over the democratic process of the republic in order to create democracies that put government rights ahead of God-given ones. We are the only country that still has a legitimate and the only ever constitution that puts God above government. And if you read their democracies, if you go back in history and you look at the documents of these countries that created their so-called democracy process, none of their so-called constitution ahead of their democratic socialist overlord global ideals to diminish human rights.
It's funny that you mentioned that. Did you hear what happened in Ukraine, Matt?
All I know is a lot of fucking good people are fucking dying over an ideal that was created out of a fucking one of the most corrupt countries in the world in order to line a bunch of people's pockets with our money to diminish our power, our fucking rights as citizens to govern our own security through our own rights.
No, I understand. I totally agree with you.
System to brainwash people into thinking they don't have rights because equal rights isn't equal.
No,
that's why 10% of our fucking population is fucking brainwashed into fucking being louder than the other 90% who understand it. It's not a fucking race thing. They want it to be a race thing so they can diminish the ideal of what our Constitution stands for so that they can undermine it in order to create unequal power, which will diminish the God-given right to pursue the happiness and the quote unquote American dream that was implemented by our forefathers. But hell, you believe what you want.
So, where I was going with this, so Ukraine's government today took out Catholicism, voted against it. I don't know how. I don't know why. That is probably one of the craziest things that I've ever heard, that a government just goes ahead and just vanish. Let me just vanish away Catholicism. I mean, is this the mark of pure evil? I never wanted to think that. I never wanted to actually, believe that this is what is actually happening in front of our very eyes. And it is. If you guys were to actually see like the DNC, the Democratic National Convention here in Chicago, holy shit, what an absolute shit show this is. Traffic is absolutely absurd. They, preached, oh, we don't need fences and we don't need to do a wall and we don't need to do this. And they got 4 fences blocking this from people entering. And you have to have a driver's license. And they have cars literally parked like all around everywhere. And you can't get around downtown if you even try. You have offices and you have even hospitals that are telling their people to work from home right now, just for their safety. This is absolutely absurd. Absurd to the umpteenth degree. For what? I mean, the closing of this, you will see what I'm truly talking about. And just to give you guys an actual idea or a vision of what they're actually trying to do. But I do want to continue on, and that thank you for letting me rant for a good, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I know Matt got to rant a little bit too, so hopefully he's a little bit better. But the one thing I do want to go over, and what I want to show to you all, and I've put a lot of work into this. This is about 4 months worth of note taking into every single chart, going through, excuse me, the Nikki, going through, and literally, I'm about to show you all how bad the Japanese yen negative carry trade truly is to the global economy, and how this thing is, if you wanted the cataclysmic nuclear bomb, you got one. I can promise you that. So, without further ado, the yen carry trade apocalypse. Monetary madness will unleash financial Armageddon. Brace yourself, folks, because the global markets are about to be rocked by a financial shockwave, the likes of which we haven't seen in at least, 4 whole years? That's right. The dreaded carry trade is starting to unwind, and it's going to make the 2008 crisis look like a walk in the park. At the heart of this impending market meltdown is Japan and its central banks, a decade-long descent into monetary policy lunacy. The Bank of Japan's reckless experiments with rock-bottom interest rates, massive asset purchases, and negative rates have created the perfect condition for the rise of the infamous yen carry trade, a strategy that has become so huge and so leveraged, it's poised to detonate with the force of a nuclear financial bomb. Just imagine it. Global investors have been gorging themselves on cheap yen, borrowing with abandon to buy higher yielding assets around the world. And now, as the Bank of Japan timidly tries to inch its way back towards normalcy, the mountain of leveraged carry trades is starting to crumble, sparkling wild market creations of setting the stage for a crisis that could reverberate through every corner of the global financial system. This first chart is your interest rates. Discount rate for Japan is your blue. And then the residential property prices for Japan is in red. Big boo-boo right here. Look at that inversion. This is a huge, colossal problem. Huge. It's a disaster in the making, folks. One that could wipe out trillions in wealth, triggered a full-blown recession, and send shockwaves wretcheding from Tokyo to Wall Street and beyond. And the really scary part, this isn't some hypothetical scenario. It's already starting to play out before our very eyes. This is how Japan's Nikkei 225 got its mojo back. So, previous records set on December 20th or 29th of 1989 at its highest peak. So, Japan's asset price bubble burst and lost decades. So, here is your decades worth of loss. If I can ever find my mouse, there you go. It takes you all the way to just about the global financial crisis. This drops to around 7,000 in 2008. Now, if you go ahead and you look at the Nikkei today, that's just absolutely propped up, beyond propped up, beyond propped up. You will see that, where is it? There it is. 38,062. Dropped to 7,000 in 2008. So here you go. Start of Abenomics right here. Then, it keeps on going up. Wait, what happened? Why is it going up? Warren Buffett disclosed stake in Japanese trading firm. It goes up some more. Yen weakens past 150 per dollar. And here's your new record set on February 22nd of 2024. So buckle up, because we're about to take a deep dive into the twisted history of Japan's monetary madness, the staggering scale of the yen carry trade, and the potentially apocalyptic consequences that could unfold as this financial time bomb finally detonates. This is no mere market hiccup, folks. This is the kind of crisis that could reshape the global economy for years to come. So, for those of you who haven't been paying attention, the global markets have been dealing with one of the largest bouts of turmoil in at least, 4 years. And you know what's to blame? That's right, the so-called carry trade. That's starting to unwind. Cue the ominous music. These are Japan's interest rates. If you can look from 1989, this is where you had that dip of 7,000 all the way up to about 2023. So in the Nikkei, this is the same direction that it took up to about 2003, when the prominence of your negative interest rates started. As you can see, it is just about here up until about 2000, 2001, 2020, or 2003. you're at zero. And it stayed that way. So they've been flirting with these negative rates for forever. Now, in case you've been living under a rock, the carry trade is an investment strategy that involves borrowing a currency with a low interest rate, like the Japanese yen, to buy assets in a currency with a higher rate, like the mighty US dollar. Genius, right? What could possibly go wrong? This chart will explain Japanese inflation rate and what happened. As you can see, during the negative carry portion of this and the negative interest rates, this is where they were flirting with them. They'd figured that, okay, well, if we go ahead and we cut rates roughly during, 1998, 1999, your economy is going to flourish because you're basically saying that there's no inflation, there's no anything. We don't have nothing to worry about. We have a strengthening currency. Everything's great. We're going to continue with this. And this is what they continued. And in 2009, October of 2009, you had a negative 2.5 basically federal fund rate. So buckle up, because Japanese authorities have managed to create a situation spectacularly mismanaged that this carry trade has become the financial equivalent to a nuclear bomb, just waiting to go off and obliterate everything in its path. Let's take a little stroll down memory lane, shall we? Back in the late 80s, Japan was in a grip of a real estate and stock market bubble, the likes of which the world has never seen. Artificially low interest rates set by the Bank of Japan, coupled with government policies that encourage rampant speculation, led to a frenzy of buying that would make even the most ardent crypto bro blush. Thought I heard Matt. Oh well. This chart explains the Japanese general government gross debt to GDP. I highlighted the box. Gross debt to GDP. Yeah. But as we all know, every bubble must eventually pop. I don't know. There you are. You were there and then you were gone, my friend. Matt. Anywho.
I'm getting sorry, I didn't hear it.
Okay, that's fine. So, but as we all know, every bubble must eventually pop, and pop it did. After the Bank of Japan raised rates from a measly 2.5% to a whopping 6% in 1990, property prices and stocks plummeted by a staggering 80%. Cue the violins, because the Bank of Japan then decided the only solution was to slash rates again, all the way down to 0% by 1999. But wait, there's more. In 2001, the Bank of Japan decided to take its wackiness to the next level by introducing quantitative easing. You know, that thing where central banks buy up every asset in sight in desperation or a desperate attempt to stimulate the economy. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. This is your bond yields, defied weight of the Bank of Japan's heavy ownership. This is in the same time that you had Norn Chunkin, who was purchasing all of these toxic assets and tranches during the right before the 2008 financial crisis, that basically they're still holding on to today. And they can't get rid of them. Norn Chunkin Bank right now.
Real quick. Zero
Mhm.
obligation debt over an hold to maturity period on the understanding that the government would create inflationary pressures on the economy to create value on the reverse carry trade. And it happens every decade. No losses are realized. All exposure is available. Very fucking cash of printing cover an interest rate hike against the reverse carry trade to create more profit for more liquidity and more pocket lining. And then at that timeline to create a narrative for support printing.
There's one problem, and this wasn't with your definition. There's one problem, is that Norn Chunkin Bank right now is negative about, I think it was $15 trillion. They're in the hole. Now, they're going ahead and they're trying to go ahead and get some subsidies from the government and, you know, interest, that negative interest that they were holding and so on and so forth. But that still leaves them at a negative about $4 trillion that they're in the hole.
They are.
What do you do?
Actually so obligated that they rehypothecated accounts and the account value in order to create money in an account that was rehypothecated. It's not even about shares anymore. They took your social security number, duplicated it into a naked account of value in order to transfer that value, rehypothecated, unreported internationally through what they're using as an excuse of an international hack that's owned by the same systems that are rehypothecating it.
Yep. Matt, the perfect example is what we went over about, I think about 3 weeks ago when we were saying about the Bank of Canada Mellon and how they were taking DRS shares.
Right. They rehypothecated the fucking shares. They moved them offshore to not report. Right.
Yep.
After they, through the trust of that transfer agent custodian, right? So they no longer exist in the U.S. reporting system. Then they derivative swapped the value of the current accounts through derivative options that were created on the Miami exchange in order to arbitrage the market difference to offshore it through Bermuda and Bahama through Swiss accounts.
Yep.
That were offshored in Asia. Asia, because, hey, you're fucking bankrupt. You're fucking screwed the whole fucking world with your real estate, commercial real estate obligations. And so you're going to do this. And then when it got exposed, Citadel tried to buy the Credit Suisse leg of the fucking international market exchange through the UBS account that now owns the Credit Suisse obligation of the Melvin Archegos and Tiger Cub account that's all connected to Citadel, who's connected to the swamp parties that created this to line their own pockets and their own political careers.
Yep.
If that ain't obvious to you, where have you been?
Under a rock, evidently. I'll just say it. You've been under a rock. We're going to fast forward to today. And the Bank of Japan is holding over 50% of Japan's government bonds, as well as a staggering 80% of the country's ETFs and 7% of the entire Japanese stock market. In other words, they've managed to completely distort the domestic markets to the point where they're about as recognizable as a Jackson Pollock painting. If you don't know who Jackson Pollock is, you watch The Accountant. But it's a bunch of squiggly lines. It's some different artwork. But this is the most interesting. Here's the real kicker. Is the carry trade. See, with the Bank of Japan's ridiculously low rates, global investors have been lining up to borrow yen and use it to buy higher yielding assets elsewhere. And boy, have they taken this strategy to the extreme, with speculative short positions in the yen hitting an all-time high last week, even surpassing the levels seen right before the 2008 financial crisis. This is your problem. The Bank of Japan's whale in bond markets, JGB holdings by bank, shrank significantly in the past decade as Bank of Japan dominated markets. If you look, here's all your indicators. This is the Bank of Japan, banks, insurers, pension funds, public pensions, households, foreign investors, and others. Holy shit.
The movie aspect of all this and the culture. You talked about.
Sure, go right ahead. I
brought up the whole arbitrage Chinese ETF index funds as an arbitrage international swap, right? Do you know why the Nikkei is called the Nikkei?
Go ahead.
It's pretty ironic that St. Nicholas is the commercialization of Christmas. And then you got the movie Little Nicky.
Hold on. Oh, that button didn't work. Damn it. It didn't work. Whatever. I'm going to laugh about it because it's hilarious. Little Nicky.
Evil has to tell you what they're doing before they do it.
Man,
if you think
this
isn't fucking right from wrong, that aspect, then you need to figure out where your alliances lie, because it is evil versus good. And I'm not even a prosecutor, but evil takes out evil, and that's where we're at now. And they're prosecuting people. They're bringing people into the spotlight. Every time they do, it makes me more right. So, hey, evil begot evil, hang evil, and fight evil, because the sooner they take each other out, the sooner righteousness prospers.
Absolutely. Matt, if you can look at this, if you're looking at this chart, the Bank of Japan's whale in the bond market, if you look, I mean, here, normalcy is right around 2010. And look where we are now. I mean, that is just absolutely absurd. Absurd.
I'm
there's no
actually
explanation.
Kind of curious, because I already knew that. I knew that a year and a half ago. Like, it was already on the rise a year and a half ago, so I knew it wasn't.
Oh yeah,
and stopping until they were broke. But right now I'm more curious in the U.S. ties to South Korea and their short exempt role. Because to me, yeah, that's very interesting on our interests there. and how they are becoming the international Asian influence of capital from an ownership standpoint, because I actually think South Korea owns more than China or Japan as far as U.S. assets.
Yeah, they probably do. I wouldn't be shocked in any which way if they aren't the number one holder, just because of how much they have been buying. But what is ultimately concerning about this particularly is the amount of bonds that they own just themselves. This isn't a debt that's being held by like us or
Right, but
China,
you're not
for
seeing the
example.
middleman. The middleman's South Korea.
It could
Look
be.
up SK Group. SK Group
Mhm.
is the middleman between
Oh,
the
I've looked into
U.S.
them.
and China, Japan. They're the middleman.
It doesn't surprise
And
me.
if you think the middleman isn't holding more obligations than the transfer agent, I think you're mistaken.
I agree.
And I think
No, I agree with you. Yeah, I'm not doubting that in any which way. What I find
until Gladiator.
You're kind of gargling marbles, my
Right.
friend. Little gargle of the
I
marble.
didn't make.
You're good now. Yeah, I lost half of what you said.
And actually corruption to own entities in the U.S.
Hey, Matt, I'm gonna
tied to.
Yeah, Matt, I gotta fix you gotta fix your mic, man. You sound like you're a little. Yeah, you gotta fix. Do me a favor, log out, log back in. Sorry about that because I couldn't hear anything that he was saying. I'm telling him to log out and log back in. So, you know what happened then? Yep, you guessed it. A massive deleveraging of unwinding of those carry trade positions, leading to the liquidity crunch that exacerbated the losses in the financial markets. And guess what? The problem is even bigger now with positions and leverage that makes 2008 look like a walk in the park. All right, let's see if you are back. All right, are you back?
Yes. And I honestly think
okay,
the Korean
that sounds
War was
way
created
better.
due to my interest in the Gladiator data and Colonel Townsend. And I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they're full on in the military international operations that are CIA operated and infiltrated. Total clandestine operations in order to secure assets and international monetary value, whether it be any nation's resources. But anyhow, they got into the whole South Korea conversation. That's when I found South Korea Group. South Korea Group owns more U.S. assets and land tied with Canada, right, and ownership than any country in the world. I mean, they literally own battery factories. They own EV vehicle factories. They own weed land. They actually have a deal where they are working with, is it Canopy?
Yeah,
I'm trying
Canopy.
to think of. All right, they're working a deal with
Canopy. You went over that last week.
Where they will have 3.2 no, 7 I think it might have been 7. It was either 3.2 or 7, and I know that's a big difference, but whatever. Right? You're talking about millions of dollars in canopy growth as a group holder merger to own that entity, but only, and now Canopy is one of the biggest landowners in the U.S. when it comes to cannabis industry. So they own EV factories. They own a pharmaceutical factory in Philadelphia. They own 2 battery factories that were tax-funded support. All these are tax-funded supported infrastructure of EV and vehicle and batteries, right, in the U.S. They own the weed sector value, but the agreement is that they will only inject that money as a group holder into Canopy if our federal government legalizes bank structure through legalized cannabis on a federal level, which means
every
all
state.
that land, we want all that infrastructure, we want all that asset value, but only if we can bank it.
Yeah, I mean, and that
So
means every state federally has to
now, when you think
legalize.
of the South Korean War, and you think of this is post, or actually, that's pre-Vietnam or soon, right?
Yeah.
They are the Asian middleman to monetary transfer of asset value to create arbitrage between Asia and the U.S. in order to line the corrupt middleman pockets of the policyholders that create these wars in order to create asset control, in order to create arbitrage, debt obligation, monetary value for political control.
This is
Ukraine's no
interesting.
different.
This is
Israel's
interesting.
no different.
You'll like this, Matt. So, a friend of the show, I am a Canopy shareholder as well, and they blew $5 billion from STZ. Canopy USA will take over the U.S. asset when cannabis is rescheduled to Schedule 3. Doesn't necessarily needs federal U.S. legislation. Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And people know the MMTLP story with their group ownership of MTLP Canada and Torchlight as a group holder, and then the Canadian entity of that group filing for bankruptcy against the Texas entity, which is creating liquidation of asset value for debt. What people don't realize that Camber Energy is in the same entity control through Canada, because the Canadian energy company that holds land asset value of future energy production in U.S. land. And they just basically sold all their technology rights to a liquidation asset obligation company in order to create liquidity for the same. In my opinion, it's the same entities doing all this to strip retail of any investment value out of the asset value of the company for their own liquidation.
It's true.
It's the same fucking thing.
Oh, absolutely it is. It absolutely is. I find it still this is also damning. Total value of Bank of Japan's ETF holdings So the book value of Bank of Japan's ETF holdings are in black. The unrealized gains of the ETF are in blue. Please explain. Now, what's even more alarming now is to us, which I will read to you here shortly. Kamala Harris is proposing an insane 25% tax on unrealized capital gains. Imagine buying shares for $100,000 and their value rises to $150,000. Under Kamala's plan, you'd owe taxes on the $50,000 gain, even though you haven't sold the shares or made any actual profit. Now imagine the stock's values drops back to $100,000 the following year. Your gain you were taxed on has vanished. You've already paid a 25% tax on the gain that no longer exists, leaving you with a financial loss and no real benefit. Taxing unrealized gains would force investors to sell off assets to cover their tax bills, hurting long-term investment and economic growth. This isn't just risky. It's a recipe for stock market crash and another Great Depression.
And I'll add to that because people don't realize that your fucking tax obligation on any gains is the obligator's tax write-off on obligations.
Yeah.
So they create the obligation, use it as a tax write-off against the things they want you to buy to support their gains, right? But their gains are never fucking realized gains because they hold them against the lost value of the realized. So what they're doing is they're creating a balancing act of zero tax against gains versus losses. Yet you have to make 3 times what they make to pay half of that against the obligations that they're not held accountable for.
I wonder, just because of the capital gains tax, if they're going to go ahead and try to do that, because I know that they tried bringing this
See, the
to
thing
the
is,
Supreme Court.
corporations can hide fucking money.
Yeah, well,
They
you
can
can't.
carpet their gains so as not to have to realize, and that's why their books always look like assets or even obligations.
Correct.
Because their obligations are a fucking lie against the assets.
See, but the one thing that I'm concerned and one thing that I'm curious over, because I brought this up, this was back probably November, December-ish, where the Supreme Court basically denied you being taxed on basically your property if it were to gain any value. So this way, the unrealized gains on your property. So if you have a house that appraised for $300,000, you put work into it, and then it's worth, $500,000, and you're paying the difference on that.
And this is a European real estate market trying to be realized in a free country. And if you understand the European real estate market, their mortgages are only guaranteed for 5, maybe 10 years at most. So if you have a 3-year loan obligation on a property,
and they're all adjustable, by the way.
Yes, and it's all adjustable. So you have to actually recontract your loan agreement every 5 years. In other words, realizing your investment value versus your new term obligation against interest on that value.
Correct.
So most people end up losing their house because they can't get restructured finance in bad economic times on the 5-year rollover. And if you last 10 years, you did pretty fucking good, honestly.
Yeah, you did, because you hold on to that rate.
Yeah, in the end, you lose your bank to the house because you can't roll over the interest value every fucking 5 years when the first year, when 20% of that payment value is being realized as interest only.
Mm-hmm. So, what's next for this financial dumpster fire, you ask? Well, the Bank of Japan has finally started to raise rates, a bit a small pace, which has sparked concerns amongst investors that our party might be over. And with the yen losing more than half of its value against the dollar over the past 4 years, the pressure is on for some serious corrections. If we go ahead, we're going to be looking at this chart, which is the limited appetite to weaken the yen. Dovish words brought the currency back to where it started the week. So here's Tokyo stock market crash on Monday, August 5th. Here's Tuesday, August 6th. You see it start to rise. What for? Uchida comments, goes up again. Now, all of these dates that I am naming, like Tuesday, August 6th, the Uchida comments, Wednesday, August 7th, these are all interventions of the currency by the JGB and the Bank of Japan. Every single one of them. This is to strengthen the yen. Every time they intervene, this is what they're doing. And what are they doing? They're buying more, buying more USD.
Yes, because that was the arbitrage swap that they created. And now they're manipulating in order to create value there.
Correct. So some experts are even predicting the yen could drop a whopping 30% against the dollar as this carry trade unwinds further. And let's not forget that the Japanese government has already blown through 80 billion in foreign exchange reserves trying to prop up the yen. Talk about throwing good money after bad. This is the United States federal fund interest rate. Here is the only time on record that you have a close to, if not 0%.
I want to add one more metric to that, and I hope you have a chart for it.
I wish I did. I don't know what it is going to be, but we'll find out.
No, I want to talk about what the currency yield difference is on the spread on that international exchange currency value. Because if you add that tightening spread, you add a higher spread gain against the interest on top of that, which compounds the losses.
I'm not sure, but we'll go over that after this. As you can see, from the time that Trump was in office, right here, or I'm sorry, not here. This is 2016, went up a little bit, down. He's the only one on record that actually had a 0% federal fund rate. If we're going up from right here, this is 2022, when all the bullshit started. Look at where this is just to combat inflation. This is what they try to do. Instead of just doing something dramatic, which is just raise interest rates high right off the bat, you would have dealt with the pain, but it may have been countered if they did it dramatically. Go on.
Let me put an example forward in my paper account on Now Webull offers futures trading. I made almost 1.5 and sometimes 1.8% in the last month on the strength of the euro to the dollar. And it's not that either of them are strong. It's just that the dollar weakened down to the euro level, creating a tighter spread, which strengthened the euro at 1.6% in a month on a currency trade.
Wow. That's ridiculous. But wait, There's more bad news. Japan's debt to GDP ratio is now over 260%. And any substantial rate hike could trigger a full-blown solvency crisis in the third largest economy in the world. The Bank of Japan is stuck between a rock and a hard place, unable to raise rates too much for the fear of sparking even more market mayhem. Now, this is the yen and short positions. This is calculating every single person that is purchased the Japanese yen. Like I told you the other day, everybody bought this. Everyone. There is not one person that is not holding Japanese yen towards their short positions, period. And here's my proof. Net yen short positions, non-commercial, and then the USD versus Japanese yen carry trade. And these are the short positions that are being held right now through the collateralization of the Japanese yen.
Yes, and that's even with them propping it up on futures.
Correct. Kaboom. This is your shit show that you wanted. You wanted this shit show. Trust me, like I wanted this shit show. As soon as I saw this, I almost fell back in my chair because I was laughing that hard just to avoid Marge calling.
Because I saw that happening. I was watching fucking futures. You want to know what's going to happen in the fucking futures. They can change on a dime, but the trend was there. And it's the same with NVIDIA.
Oh, yeah. This is running parallel almost to NVIDIA, like to a T. Remember, currency doesn't transfer book to book. It has to go somewhere. Where do you think it went?
Is that whole fucking market, and it's the whole prop up for the spies. So on an international arbitrage trade, NVIDIA is the signal.
Correct. 100%.
NVIDIA the stock.
Yeah, this is a whole economy. So what's the bottom line here? Well, if you thought the last few years of market volatility were bad, just wait until the Japanese carry trade time bomb goes off. We're talking about the potential for even more wild swings, new all-time lows, and the whole lot of tears and gnashing of teeth from investors who thought they had it all figured out. And all because a bunch of central bankers decided to play fast and loose with the laws of economics. You gotta love it. So
Fast
this is going abroad.
Economics happened 20 years ago in 2000, running into the 2008 carry trade, into the fucking 20-year 2019 carry trade. It's not that they decided to do this now. This is what they had to do because of what they decided to do years ago.
This chart that you're seeing right here is the Japan's foreign investments ballooned in the last years. This is where we're at. 487 trillion yen. And this is as of 3/31. We are probably at 500 trillion. And just so you could see how bad this is, gross size of balance sheet, 505%. 500% GDP, or $20 trillion.
What's trillions of dollars amongst friends pocket $500,000 of it?
Oh, I know. It's just, we're just trading back and forth. It's okay. We're gonna get something good for this eventually. But
inflation, what's inflation? Making $500 million a year. Who cares? I'm good.
Who
I'm
cares?
gonna take everything I can get while I can get it because it's gonna end someday. But I'll be on top.
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry. The people beneath me will pay for these problems. That's where I
I mean, the
become
fucking
silent.
oversight. I mean, Gensler. I mean, what's a couple $100 million to him? That's cheap.
No big deal. He could just borrow it from Goldman. This is the USD Japanese yen fell towards year-to-date lows amidst the carry unwind. Yen's shorts to be pressured with the USD Japanese yen fair value towards 100. Bank of New York says. This is what they're saying the fair value of it is. And if you get below right here, we'll just say 130. You get below this, it's financial Armageddon.
Dude, they force you to spend fucking 30% of your income and higher on technology.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Dude, back in the day, when you did your fucking monthly economics, your house was supposed to only be like 25%.
Correct.
Your car, 10%. Now you got 25% house, 25% technology, the fucking 30% energy,
and
you're left with nothing for food and whatnot because they want to supply the rest. They're gonna control your technology because they want to control the net. They want to control your living because they want you to owe them rent, and they want to control your energy because when all else fails, they're gonna strangle you with it.
Yeah.
But this is
100%. Your debts are my debts. My debts are your debts. And that's what this is. The problem that you're going to be walking into, and this is what will happen, I promise you, it will happen if a certain somebody who claps like a dysfunctional walrus is in office. Someone that doesn't understand economics, that's basically going to introduce this. You will not have a home. You will not have your own company. You will not have anything to your name. It will
unless
all
they
be
make
by
you a
design.
manager of something they own, where you all step up a little bit in the world class.
Correct. But it will all be Big Brother, and you're paying Big Brother, and the other side of what they keep on quoting as democracy, which is the closest thing to a monarchy where
And they
one
got
person
caught in
makes the decisions.
trying to finalize the plan by a bunch of fucking millennials and previous understanders of Wall Street and the March on Wall Street, right? That used technology against the intrusion against, and people were able to share the information, understand that, and we put them to the fire with it, and they said, apes, fuck them. We'll fucking squeeze them out of their fucking play through the economy by whatever you need at any cost.
They wanted you to overpower you with debt. If they overpowered you with debt, they basically win their game, because this way you are forced to sell your position because everything else is too expensive for you to live.
Except that they don't understand that people lose.
Correct.
That
It's
fucking
true.
what I had in the market, and quote unquote didn't lose because I still have my assets. And the company is not going bankrupt, which is the shares, right? They did a reverse split. So, yes, they took some of my assets. But that asset that they took more benefit of bankruptcy. So
not
I'll
having a
forgive
company.
them. They're growing the company. And I'm just using one example. But they're for with or against anyone. He's on a fence. He's got an institutionalized fucking banking system that he needs to depend on in order to keep the company operational and not go bankrupt. He's got investors who gave him the money he needed to sit on that fence and not be dragged to one side and be a sellout and be a failure of the first company in his life. Right? So am I mad at him that I lost some of the one that I bought for my own benefit? No, because honestly, we'd be bankrupt. Right? Now, on the other side of that, it didn't change the value of the obligation. It just changed the representation, the legitimate under that obligation.
You're getting into gargling marble territory.
It's been more apparent how exposed that obligation is because the value of the obligation didn't change, just the volume number of the contracts within that obligation. So float size to debt ratio, obligation ratio, right, to your holding. Right? And the fucked up part is that their obligation to us didn't change because they issued it. It got divided into two obligations, and one of them got erased illegally.
Correct.
You still
and they still don't have an answer for it.
And you still own the ape that doesn't even trade anymore. Because the ape that they're trading, OTC, as a result of that obligation, is still fucking trading that you own. That they created duplicate accounts for transfer, international swaps, and everything they can do to unwind it. They fucking printed so much money to try to strangle you out of it, scare you out of that obligation to get you to fucking yield so that they can actually turn that obligation into a realized gain. Fuck you, you're not getting my shares. Fuck you. You can play with my ape all you want. The obligation doesn't change until the attached share to that goes.
And you got cut off. The obligation doesn't change for ape, regardless whether it's traded in the OTC or not. You're still owed that. So, regardless, you're still in a position of win-win. Which, finally, it will bring me to my final word. As the walls come crashing down on the yen carry trade, we are left to stare into the abyss, wondering just how in the hell we ever got to this point. How did Japan's central banks manage to so thoroughly distort its own financial markets, creating a ticking time bomb of epic proportions that poised to detonate and send shockwaves ricocheting through the global economy? It's enough to make your head spin and your stomach churn with sheer unadulterated terror. The answer, it seems, lies in the toxic cocktails of reckless monetary policy, unbridled greed, and a complete disregard for the fundamental laws of economics. For decades, the Bank of Japan has engaged in endless cycles of rate cuts, asset purchases, and increasingly desperate attempts to prop up an economy that just wouldn't cooperate. And in the process, They've allowed the yen carry trade to balloon to a truly staggering proportions, now potentially eclipsing even the scale of 2008 global financial crisis. But here's the truly terrifying part. The fallout from this unfolding disaster could be catastrophic on a scale we have never seen before. We're talking about the potential for a full-blown global recession with skyrocketing volatility, plummeting asset prices, and a liquidity crunch that would make 2008 look like a walk in the park. Fortunes will be lost, jobs will disappear, and a fragile confidence in the global markets may be shattered, perhaps for years to come. The chart over here is the credit card defaults at a record level. This is delinquency rates on credit card loans, banks not among the 100 largest in size by asset. This is crazy. And the really maddening part, there are whispers growing louder by the day that the Federal Reserve, in its cozy relationship with the ultra wealthy elite, may have actually been complicit in allowing the massive carry trade to flourish. Could it be that our trusted guardians of monetary policy have been more concerned with protecting the interests of their deep-pocketed friends on Wall Street than safeguarding the financial well-being of the average Joe? It's a chilling thought, but one that's becoming increasingly hard to dismiss as we watch this fiasco unfold. Making matters worse, the Biden administration has proposed a raft of tax hikes that would further cripple the economy. Kamala Harris has endorsed a plan to raise long-term capital gains tax rates to 44.6%, the highest level since 1922. There's also a proposed 25% tax on unrealized capital gains for the wealthy. And let's not forget the plan to raise corporate tax rate to 28%, the highest in over 40 years. This is a chart of the 2025 budget, highest capital gains tax rate in 100 years. The impact of these policies, combined with the yen carry trade unwinding, is already starting to show. New bankruptcy filings hit a 6-year high in Q2 of 2024, with the number of companies declaring for bankruptcy have doubled in just 2 years. Chapter 7 liquidations, Chapter 11 restructurings, and other bankruptcy cases are all surging at a pace typically seen only during major economic downturns. It's a perfect storm of financial devastation, one that seems poised to overwhelm the average investor and cripple the broader economy. But even as we stare into the abyss, there is a glimmer of hope, because when things seem darkest, that's often where true innovators and visionaries emerge, ready to chart a new course and build a more resilient, equitable financial system. But first, we must confront the grim reality of the yen carry trade apocalypse and pray that the fallout doesn't drag the entire world economy down with it. Because if it does, the consequences could be truly catastrophic, the likes of which we haven't seen in our lifetimes. And the question we'll be left asking is, how did we ever get this bad? The answer, my friends, may be more frightening than we ever imagined. Yellow, you're back now? Or not? I don't know. Yellow. All right, we're having fun playing back and forth. What's going on, buddy? You live? Maybe? Yes? No? Who knows? Don't hear you talking at all. Matt, You there? Nope. Don't know. Anywho, it's a situation where you really have to understand exactly what position you're going to be in, where you are wanting this to. Do you want this to continue? Do you want this to change? What is it that you want? There's ramifications for both. It's a matter of what you think is best for all of us as we move forward. I do believe that things need to change. I do believe that based upon the economy that we have currently right now, this can't be sustained. It's impossible. There's no way that this can continue on. Because they are just pointing you in one direction. And that one direction you're never, ever going to be able to survive through. Or you can watch corporate greed take over the rest of what you think you have left. That's what you're leading towards. And I know it's scary to think about. And trust me, and I know most people are not going to be brave or bold enough to actually say what they think. But there is no mute on my microphone, period. There's not. I'm going to say what I think. And I always will be that way. And I will always speak out for the little guy. Because maybe they don't understand. And they may need that helpful voice that can go ahead and guide them in the right direction. Or show them what is right. But what you're seeing today, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't right. This isn't anything that your forefathers thought of. This is not anything that you as soldiers, if you were a soldier like myself, that you fought for. None of it. At all. And that's the sad part. Because any time spent away from your family, that's work. You get paid for your work. I may have gotten paid, but this isn't what I fought for. This was not the ideals that I was bestowed upon growing up. This isn't an American dream for anybody. If you can go ahead and actually show me where the economy is actually in good standing, I want to see it. Because I haven't seen one thing that tells me differently. You see grocery prices that are going up. You see everything that is just exploding in front of you.
You know what the truth of the matter is?
What's that?
And I'm going to pull out some fucking basic training lessons. Look to your left, look to your right in this social community. One of the three of you will see the realization of your work.
Oh, yeah.
And the other two will fold.
Absolutely.
And it's just a reality.
Yeah. It's truth.
We're trying to increase that number. Not because of our... and yes, somewhat in our own self-interest, no more than the military wants everybody. They spend a shit ton of money on the train to graduate. But at the same time, the reality is you have to understand, you have to learn, you have to do the work, you have to do all that implies making it to that level.
Absolutely.
And I don't, if you're trusting on your battle buddy to carry you, you're going to fail. Because the fact is, your battle buddy is carrying his own load. And he can't carry you for you.
No.
He can help you. He can show you the way. But in the end, you don't get through if you don't do the work. And that's
It's
just
truth.
a fact.
That's 100% true. We can only shine the light on where we see this. It's up to you guys to go ahead and walk the path. And that's where understanding and the knowledge that you guys get can guide you on that path. And it's just a matter of you going ahead and opening your eyes to the reality of what you are seeing in front of you. To give you guys your own explanations, your own thoughts, and progress that. And what I mean by progress that is progressing it to others. Because they may have never seen it. Or they may think, they could be a news cockatoo and just believe everything that the news tells them.
I'd like to think we're a little beyond that at this point, at least
in our community, yes. But I mean, but there's people that don't have an idea and think that everything that the news says is just right.
Well, like basic training, you always bring in new classes because you need to fucking build something, and you don't build it on the failures, you build it on
Absolutely.
the prospects.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for me to go eat some dinner now. But I'm going to leave you with an interesting video. Matt, thank you for always coming along. And right here is that new video.
Thank you.
This is a Fox News alert. All new this morning, House Republicans finding President Biden and his family received more than $27 million from foreign individuals and entities since 2014. Lawmakers call it an impeachable conduct. Brooke Singman is in Chicago with this story. Brooke, good morning.
Yeah. Good morning, Ainsley. I obtained a copy of this 292-page report from House Republicans. They're on the House Oversight, Judiciary, and Ways and Means committees, and they've been leading this impeachment inquiry against President Biden for months. So they said their investigation found that President Biden engaged in impeachable conduct and said he abused his office and, quote, defrauded the United States to enrich his family. Republicans revealed that since 2014, the Biden family and its associates received more than $27 million from foreign individuals and entities. They also found that while Biden was serving as vice president, the Biden family got more than $8 million in loans from Democratic benefactors, and they say those loans have not been repaid. So this report says, in part, quote, as vice president, President Biden actively participated in a conspiracy by, among other things, attending dinners with his family's foreign business partners and speaking to them by phone, often when being placed on speakerphone by Hunter Biden. Republicans are calling out a 2014 dinner that Hunter Biden and his father attended with a Russian oligarch. After that dinner, the oligarch wired $3.5 million to Hunter Biden's firm. Now, this report says, quote, several witnesses testified that Hunter Biden invoked his father in business dealings with Romanian, Chinese, Kazakhstani, and Ukrainian companies, resulting in millions of dollars flowing to the Biden family. They're also calling out Biden for his handling of classified documents. House Republicans are now calling for Biden to be impeached. Ainsley.
All right, the breach happened, Kate, and what you can see is down the street here, they're adding an extra layer of fencing. So now, instead of 2 layers of fence, there is 3 layers. And this is, just an example of the way that law enforcement is trying to fortify this area after the breach. And a couple other things that we're seeing, the fence that's different this morning is these bolts here that are securing these in place. And then in addition, this extra layer here, Kate, it stopped at the top of this panel. And then what we we saw this morning is this extra panel going up. And what protesters were able to do, Kate, is they sort of got together and they came from the bottom and
women are not without electoral.
Cheer up, Brian. You know what they say? Some things in life are bad. They can really make you mad. Other things just make you swear and curse. When you're chewing on life's gristle, don't grumble, give a whistle. And this'll help things turn out for the best. And always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the light side of life. If life seems jolly rotten, there's something you've forgotten, and that's to laugh and smile and dance and sing. When you're feeling in the dumps, don't be silly chumps. Just purse your lips and whistle, that's the thing. And always look on the bright side of life. Come on. Always look on the right side of life. For life is quite absurd, and death's the final word. You must always face the curtain with a bow. Forget about your scene, give the audience a grin. Enjoy it, it's your last chance anyhow. So always look on the bright side of death. Just before you draw your terminal breath. Life's a piece of shit when you look at it. Life's a laugh and death's a joke, it's true. You'll see it's all a show, keep 'em laughing as you go. Just remember that the last laugh is on you. And always look on the right side of life. Always look on the right side of life. Come on, Brian, cheer up. Always look on the right side of life. Always look on the right side of life. First things happen to see, you know. Always look on the right side. What you got to lose, you know? You come from nothing, you're going back to nothing. What you lost? Always look on the right side of life. Nothing will come from nothing, you know what I say? Cheer up, you old bugger. Come on, give us a grin. There you are. See? The end of the film. Incidentally, this record's available in the foyer. Someone's got to live.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for wanting to learn and understand the position that we are actually in and the significance of the Japanese yen, the negative carry trade. If you guys ever have any questions, please don't hesitate to DM me. You can also email me as well. And I'll be more than happy to get to any questions that you may have. Besides that, you guys have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you all soon. You have a good